everybody. It's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, October 31st, 2021. Abby, come here a minute. Why don't you have a seat? Can I get you a sandwich or anything? No? Okay, well, there's no easy way to tell you this, Abby. Your husband is dead. He's 90% dead. He's mostly dead. And I feel really bad about that for you. I don't want to see you hurt. I don't want to see you cry. But, you need to know that it's for a greater good. Chance died so that the show might live. See, Abby, you have to understand that the fans have been waiting for this moment for 9 months now, and some of us hoping for it, some not. But you see, there were some circumstances that were beyond our control, and so we have to say goodbye to Chance for now. And for what it's worth, he won't be dead forever. He'll only be dead until you just start to move on. And yes, I know, they found that shiny gold wedding ring of his pulled from the dirty, dusty rubble of a bombing. And they found the photo, of his personalized, engraved Rolex. And everything is making it look like he is dead. But let's just say he's not fully dead. He's mostly, but not fully dead. And he will be back eventually, but for right now, you just have to go with dead. We're going with dead. We'll just say mostly dead because stranger things have happened. I really could have used it being a little more clear. I mean, when Christine first showed Abby the photo of the watch that she found in the rubble early in the week. I mean, it was right at the show opener, right before the previews. And I honestly thought that what Christine was going to show Abby was a photo of Chance's body. Christine said something to the effect of, I need you to give a positive ID. And I thought, oh, well, I mean, that seems final to me. Finally, something final. But then no, it's all just trinkets of Chance that they've found. So, I mean, you know what I always say, nobody not dead. So we all know this. We all know that the door is left open for Chance to be not dead. But for now, I'm moving forward with the assumption that he is, and that this is a much needed correction. I think next week it will be interesting to see if Abby continues to insist that Chance is still alive, or if she will move forward with an acceptance of his death and maybe start planning a funeral party. I think it's going to be that. I think she's going to be planning a funeral party for him, a celebration of life for him. I think this is meant to be the beginning of Abby moving on, but just for now. Just for now. We never know when they're going to whip it back the other way, but for now I think Chance is dead, especially since we saw Nina in the previews, gasping and sobbing for her long-lost son. I mean, two long-lost sons, right? Oh, this ought to tear us apart next week. So we've got that to look forward to. I cannot believe that we are returning to the Sutton files after all this time. I mean, what question is there for Amanda? Yes, please testify against him. Please follow through with seeking justice for your father's death and get us through this storyline. It's not that it has potential to be bad. It's just that it's not going to go anywhere. It's not like we're going to see a trial. It's not like we're actually going to see Amanda take the stand in a courtroom. We're just going to hear about it afterwards. We're not going to, see Imani jump onto Sutton's legal team and then really ramp up some legal drama and get into the courtroom like we did in the old days. No, we're just stuck in this little boat rowing slowly toward the stream, and I'm ready to jump out. Fast. This little boat's been taking on water for a while now, and I'm just kind of ready to get out of it. But I appreciate the gesture of wrapping it up, I guess. And it was wonderful to see Michael Baldwin. Oh, he just brings so much everything every time he's on screen. Emotion, humor, sexiness. He's just everything all at once. And I think it's quite a shame that on a week where we had Michael Baldwin and Christine, we didn't have them cross paths. That's a little bit of a disappointment. I felt like Y&R just kept trotting Laura Lee Bell in and off of the Chancellor Mansion set. You know, she was outside, she was inside, she was upstairs, she was downstairs, she was in the kitchen, she was in the living room. They just kept trotting her back and forth to provide news that's really kind of almost non-news about Chance. I mean, even though Y&R ended up coming up with this bombing scenario, it doesn't even feel like they're fully committed to it. He's been bombed, but let me make a few phone calls just to make sure. Really? Ashland gets some test results from his oncologist. It appears that he is not responding to his experimental chemotherapy the way that the doctors would like. I mean, really, you could have fooled me. He looks amazing. Ashland looks as healthy as one of Victor's horses. Oh, but I guess he's going to have to look into those actual experimental treatments now. The Peruvian treatments. Oh, doesn't that sound like a good movie title? The Peruvian Treatment. Starring Ashland Locke. Ooh, intrigue. Yes, Victoria and Ashland asked Nate to look into the Peruvian treatments, the experimental Peruvian treatments. And Nate says the protocols look promising, but there's no guarantee. Ashland wants to move forward anyway. Damn the torpedoes. He has finally found peace and happiness with Victoria, and he is not about to let a little thing like impending death stand in his way. Who could blame him? Oh, I'm very happy with how Ashland has been folded into the Newman family already. Victor and Adam pull Ashland in on their crush Billy Abbott plan. There probably is a manila folder in Adam's desk right now that is titled Crush Billy Abbott Plan. And Ashland says, whoa, 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 thanks for giving me the heads up, but just so you know, I am not keeping any secrets from Victoria these days. From here on out, if there's anything that you don't want Victoria to know about the plan that you're going to enact against her ex-husband and the father of her children, then don't tell me, because I'm going to be obligated to tell her. And it sounds like the whole Jesse Gaines thing is just a trap. Like Victor and Adam are only trying to make it look like something happened to this guy. Jesse shows up at Billy's doorstep next week in the previews, and he's looking like he just stepped out of a bombed building. I don't know if he was hanging out in Spain or wherever it was that Chance was. I just think it's hilarious that they both got exploded together, I guess. But I'm guessing that maybe Victor and Adam's grand Machiavellian plan is to get Billy all whipped up into a foam over this guy, make Billy publish an inaccurate story, and then like humiliate Billy publicly, to reveal that the guy's still alive, or he was lying or something. Like make Billy publish a story that is inaccurate, and then swoop in and buy the shambles of Billy's ruined company and ruined reputation. Adam versus Billy. Pick one or die. That was our poll question from last week, and I'm completely shocked to see 90% of Y&R chatters pick Adam. If you have to pick Adam or Billy, 90% of us picked Adam. Only a poor little measly 10% picked Billy. Wow. It says a lot. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, the dynamic between Billy and Adam is always this. Billy hates Adam, Billy goes after Adam, and that makes Adam the underdog, and I kind of think maybe that's what makes Adam more sympathetic to the viewer. But what if I were to stack Billy up against someone who has less sympathy built up with the viewership currently? For this week's poll question, I wonder if we switched it up a little bit, what would your answer be? What if instead of Adam versus Billy, I asked you Victor versus Billy? Would those results be as much of a landslide? That's my question for the week at yrchat.com. We know how you feel about Adam versus Billy, but how would you feel if it were Victor versus Billy? Pick one. And I kind of want to test that out just for kicks. Because I just find that poll result to be so incredibly just a landslide, and it's shocking. And I'm trying to wrap my brain around why that is. And I've been doing a lot of considering of Adam versus Billy this week. And here's another question I have for you. Do you guys think that Billy is addicted to hating Adam? Is that what really is motivating Billy's behavior? Is he addicted to hating Adam? Because Billy has an addictive personality. That is one very fully fleshed out and consistent part of his character. It doesn't change. It doesn't really evolve much. Billy gets very obsessive. That's who he is. He can't seem to help himself. And even when he says, I'm sorry, I've been a bad boy, I'm not going to do that anymore, he's just right back to it. But with 90% of people picking Adam over Billy, I just feel the need to take a closer look here and try to figure out what's gone wrong with Billy. Suddenly, I feel like Nick must feel when Phyllis is criticizing his family. Like, wait a minute. I can sit here and criticize Billy week after week after week, but then when it's more than just me, I feel like he's getting ganged up on and I can't have it. It's the underdog scenario. Now Billy's the underdog in the vote, so now I have to find a way to identify him. I mean, I can't help it that just that vote makes me want to go deeper, makes me want to find the beating heart of Billy Abbott. What is likable about Billy Abbott? I mean, for me, at this point, I think it's purely Jason Thompson. He's slick, he's sexy, he's funny, he has a very unique delivery, but Billy Abbott himself has never really been one of my favorites. I always call him the lovable screw-up, but I don't really even recall ever loving him, even when Billy Miller was in the role, and I love Billy Miller. It's almost like my love goes to the actor who's portraying, not so much the character. The only time I can recall really feeling passionate at all about loving Billy would have been when David Tom originated the adult role, and I loved his romance with Mackenzie, except it was really just more of a teen romance, so I can't say I was really swept up into it, and it didn't last really all that long, because then Billy went away, Y&R revamped the character, and we got the screwy Abbott brother. That's what he came back as. That's how the role evolved. And I think that that's a role that is very much needed. Don't get me wrong. I really like that Billy is here. I actually think it creates a good a space to fill. I just don't know that I really like him all that much. I like the role he's filling, but I don't know that I like him all that much. I don't know that I like who he is. Billy is always overconfident. You know, I think deep down in the dark of night, I think if Billy's lying there in his bed at night thinking about his life, I think he loves himself. I think deep down Billy loves himself, is completely okay with everything that he does. I think Billy thinks that he's right and everybody else is wrong. Whereas, since we're contrasting that with Adam, I think deep down in the dark of night, Adam hates himself. I think when Adam lashes out, he's doing it for attention. I think Adam is a generally loving guy who has this tragic wiring. You've got Billy, though, who was kind of born with the silver spoon in his mouth. And in that way, just like I said last week, the Adam versus Billy rivalry is almost meant to be a replication of the Victor and Jack rivalry. But clearly, Billy's character needs some work here. I mean, Billy is so excellent at driving the action forward. He's excellent at giving us that Friday cliffhanger. He's also excellent at giving us some very sexy, steamy sex scenes too. And that's all very well and good. He's the bad boy. And he is. In every sense of the word, Billy is the bad boy. But I really think that we could stand to see some tenderness from him. I think we could stand to see some humility from him. The writers have actually done a very good job of doing that with Adam. I would say a year or two ago, Adam was kind of in the same position that Billy is right now. He was a plot tool with no soul, no heart. But now we're in this great position of seeing Adam actually evolving and making good decisions, or at least, he's making good decisions that can balance out the bad ones that he's made. And I think that's what is maybe at the heart of it, making us root for Adam over Billy. I would really like to know where Adam stands on the topic of Sharon. We need to do a check-in with Adam on his feelings for Sharon. Does Adam still think of Sharon in the deep, dark night? Is Adam still holding out some shred of hope that they will be reunited someday? Is Sharon the reason that he put the brakes on the sex with Sally in Tuscany? Does Adam feel that he is not truly over Sharon? I mean, I didn't really talk about it all that much last week, but I actually loved Adam's decision to pull back with Sally. I mean, you can't be stuck in a past relationship with your ex-wife while starting a relationship with someone new. That wouldn't be fair to Sally or to himself. But I'm wondering, is Sharon the reason why he's holding off? I mean, maybe it's got nothing to do with Sharon and Adam is simply afraid of being rejected again or hurt again. Maybe Adam doesn't fully trust Sally with his heart, and why would he? He doesn't really even know her all that well. I think these two need to have a chance to get to know each other before they can really get to know each other, if you know what I mean. But there's still this really big issue of Sharon and Adam on the table. It affects Adam's relationship with Sally. It affects Sharon's relationship with Ray. Where does Sharon stand on the topic of Adam? I mean, no change there. None whatsoever. This week, Sharon overhears Billy asking Ray to investigate Adam. And, she kind of gets the gist of what's going on with the Jesse Gaines situation and starts to glean that Billy is trying to pin another crime on Adam. And Sharon really gets up in there and defends Adam to Billy. She gives him an earful. But then it also had the effect of just resurrecting the same old argument with Ray over Adam. Ugh. And I really only think that's happening because Chelsea is coming back soon. I think Chelsea is going to be a new factor in the ongoing argument that Ray and Sharon are having about Adam. I'm sure that Chelsea will find a way to win, to win over Ray, and then to have her say, maybe validate the things that Ray thinks about Adam. I think Chelsea is going to get in there and stroke that fire where it wasn't stroked before. Sharon and Ray have been arguing about Adam forever, but you add Chelsea in there to stroke the fire and boom. Yeah, Billy was also questioning Sally about Adam, and now Adam has to explain to Sally the situation that's gone on between them, which, by the way, made Sally start to become concerned about, this coming war that's going to happen between Adam and Billy will end up raining down some bad press on her parade. Sally's doing great right now. She's getting all kinds of good press for all of her good work, and she's afraid that whatever's going to go down between Chancecom and Newman Media is going to ruin that for her. Well, Chloe thinks that everything will be okay as soon as Chelsea gets back. which should tell us that Chelsea is not coming back to Newman with Chloe and Sally. Lauren is about to pull a coup here and announce that her new designer is Chelsea Lawson. That, I bet you, is how Chelsea is going to end up coming back to the show. Lauren's going to have a real coup moment on her face when she comes back to announce Chelsea as her new designer. I mean, at that point, the game will be set and we'll be ready to go. I've turned a corner on Nick and Phyllis. I now find their discord to be completely believable because they are like an old married couple who's been squabbling over the same little thing for 50 years to the point where they don't even know what they're fighting about anymore. I don't even know what they're fighting about. They're different people. Yeah, we all are. The problem in their relationship is they're different people. Yeah, we all are. It's heartbreaking and exhausting. Phyllis and Nick had a big blow up on Friday and they threw everything at the wall. I could not believe that Phyllis took it all the way back to saying that she was mad at Nick for not immediately jumping on board with her plan to expose Sally and Tara. Whatever. That is such old news and such a lame excuse to be mad at him. I was impressed that Nick let her do her own thing when it came to Tara and Sally. Nick didn't try to stop her. Nick seems to get it. Phyllis would rather run her hotel and follow her personal passions rather than help coach Christian's football team. Fine. Nick accepted that too, and he's still willing to work things out. Nick's priority is family, like it or not, and Phyllis's priority is her hotel, and that's fine. It seemed to be accepted before now. I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what the problem is. Nick is mad because Phyllis blah 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 Newman family? Okay. Suddenly? Okay. Let's just go ahead and break up the sexiest couple on Y&R if we must. I mean, I'm going to have to accept it, I suppose. I'm just going to force myself to turn the corner about this love triangle. I'm going to come to terms with the fact that it is happening, and I'm just going to do my best to enjoy the emotional journey that it takes us to get there, because I do think this is one of the more compelling parts of the show right now. I have the most thoughts about Nick and Phyllis and Jack, and I think it will be an interesting choice that Phyllis will have before her if it is Nick or Jack. I mean, choosing between Nick or Jack, they're two completely different men. They are two completely different relationship dynamics. I think Phyllis's relationship with Nick is very physical, whereas Phyllis's relationship with Jack is very cerebral, and it almost feels like each guy possesses the qualities that the other does not, and together they would almost make the perfect guy. I mean, Lord knows Nick is not well known for his cerebral skills, and Jack isn't exactly whipping off his shirt and tossing Phyllis into bed. Phyllis has continued to talk to Jack about her squabbles with Nick, even though I get the sense that even she knows she really shouldn't be having that conversation. And Jack has continued to support Phyllis and Jack's relationship by telling her to go work things out. Oh, isn't Jack so magnanimous? He's so willing to give up his love for Phyllis to another man just so that she can be happy. It's so bizarre what's going on with Jack and Phyllis right now. Is Jack just going to pretend that he didn't tell Phyllis that he loves her? And is Phyllis just going to pretend that she didn't tell Jack that she loves him too? And are they just going to pretend that what they are is friends? What the heck is Jack doing giving her relationship advice? It's inappropriate, more so than anything that Nick has said to Sharon. I think most of Nick's doubts have come internally. It's mostly just things that he's observed. No one's telling him. He's barely talking to anyone at all. But it just really seems like there's an intimacy there with Phyllis and Jack that we're not exactly seeing on the other side with Nick and Sharon yet. But I think it is going to be a real emotional pull and push before Phyllis fully transitions back to Jack, which is what I think is going to happen. I wonder if I want that, though, to be honest with you. I mean, years ago, I would have said, yes, Jack and Phyllis forever, Nick and Sharon forever. But I don't know. After seeing that love scene, the last love scene with Nick and Phyllis this week, where, like, she whipped off his belt and threw it around his neck, and then he tossed her on the bed, I thought to myself, well, I just don't know if Jack and Phyllis have the physical chemistry. Yeah, I think there's a part of me that just prefers Nick and Phyllis together at this point, because as much as I enjoy calling Nick a dope, I really don't think he's a dope. I think that Nick is a good-natured guy who has just found joy in the simplicity of life, and kind of despite the dark complexity of his family, and I think that's sort of where his inner conflict is. But I think Nick is incredibly sex-driven, and he always has been, and I think that's always been a big part of his character, no matter which woman he's with, always. I mean, sex is always a part of Nick's character, and I think sex is a big part of what keeps Nick and Phyllis together, and that's not a judgment, that's a fact. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Sex is a perfectly good, partial, at least, reason to be together and to be with somebody. But Jack almost feels completely absent of that to me. I mean, when was the last time we saw Jack in a sex scene? He didn't, even with his last girlfriend, he didn't get an actual kiss. When he was with Sally, the kiss that they shared kind of happened off screen with a little bit of camera trickery. And yeah, I know Jack was quite the ladies' man back in the day, but that day is so far in the past. I almost can't even imagine. It's hard to trade off the sexual chemistry of Phyllis and Nick, but there is the appeal of the emotional intimacy with Phyllis and Jack. He does seem to know her, and he made these wonderful comments to her this week, asking her to look almost at her relationship with her own father. I mean, that's weighted. It's like a balanced scale, and it is pretty evenly weighted. It just depends on what your preference is. But I just wonder if Phyllis finds Jack as sexually attractive as she does Nick. I don't think so. I think that's that's a lot of the reason why Phyllis chose Nick in the first place. It's bizarre to say, but I just think many times over Phyllis has chosen Nick many times over, and I think it's almost because she seems to want that sexual chemistry. She almost just seems to want that lightheartedness. She almost wants someone who's not going to go too deep. It's like almost like Phyllis doesn't want it to go too deep either, and they almost maybe had that in common, and that way Nick kind of fit the bill. But I mean I don't know. Phyllis did comment, in fact, this week that she felt like she couldn't go deep with Nick. But I don't know. I'm not really all that sure that Jack can really go deep with her. Y&R is doing a very good job of incorporating new Noah into the show. It feels like he's always been a part of it. I mean, he shared some really nice scenes with Ray this week and with Nikki too. And he stopped by the coffee house for a chat with Sharon, and he made some comments about the remodel. And that would have happened while he was away. It would have been the first time that Noah would have seen it since he's gotten back. And the way the actor was looking around, it really felt like he was soaking in the change. It's very good casting. And I loved the moment, too, because it also gave Sharon a chance to comment on the set. You know, it is a set that is very commented on by the fans. People either seem to love it or they hate it. Some people call for a change. But Sharon this week tells us that she likes that some things never change. It creates a sense of familiarity. And yeah, I also liked that Noah pointed out the Gatsby-esque eyes on the wall. Has anybody ever made that connection before? The guy, the big eyes with the glasses and the GC hat on the wall. When you see that, have you ever thought Great Gatsby? I haven't read it, but I mean that is such a writer wrote that line for sure. And I thought that was fascinating. It gave me a different way to look at something that I've been looking at for a very long time, and I thought it was very meta, and I really like hearing the characters commenting about their own world the way that we so often do. But yeah, I think they're doing a really great job of writing Noah so far. He was incredibly insightful with Nick when talking about Nick's relationship troubles with Phyllis. It really almost seems like it's a very different Noah. This is a worldly Noah. This is a new Noah. He's been some places. He's seen some things. He's got his own wisdom to share. And he admitted to Nick and Sharon this week that he's, had some love lost. And I think that's interesting. It's not surprising. Most people by his age have had some lost loves, but I'm also not entirely sure that that's exactly what his whole situation is. It almost seems to me that what Noah is longing for is not just necessarily a relationship, or I don't know, maybe even not just the long lost love that he had with Tessa. This Noah seems to be longing for a home. This Noah seems to want a place in this world, something of his own. I mean, yeah, living in London is fabulous and flashy for a Midwest guy who grew up riding horses on his grandfather's ranch, but a sense of belonging is something that you can't get just anywhere. It takes the right combination of people, places, and things. And I think that is what Noah is searching for in Genoa City, above and beyond healing his broken heart. Speaking of Noah, last week, Noah was having his introduction with Adam, kind of getting reintroduced and reacquainted to Adam. And Noah made a comment about that Adam was actually at the wedding, not causing any havoc. And Adam said, havoc can be overrated. These days, he just likes to keep people on their toes. So that was our quote from last week. Havoc can be overrated. Jamie, Henry, Heather, Deetles, Brittany, Sheila, Michelle, Ellen, and Sue W. You guys all guessed it right. Now, here's a great line. I love this. When I heard it, I knew there could be no other. So you tell me who you think said it. Lies, manipulation, deception, treachery. Am I missing anything? Lies, manipulation, deception, treachery. Am I missing anything? If you think you know who said it, go to yrchat.com to leave your guess. And if you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. I love your comments, especially because you guys fill in all of the teeny tiny little gaps that I miss. Everybody has their things that they're most interested in on the show, and then the things that are kind of meh, And I think the fact that I get to read your comments all week, it really helps to fill in those spaces of the things that maybe I just didn't have a place for, or didn't think to mention, or maybe just a story I'm not as interested in. So that's why I love your comments. Let's start out with this one from Gary, who says, I'm really getting tired of hearing how these young, vibrant, hardy Y&R stars can't get over their jet lag. Yes, a couple people did mention their jet lag, but I also wanted to use this as a place to talk a little bit about Elena and Noah running into each other. And Elena saying that she was jet lagged and stopping by Crimson Lights for some coffee. Two things about this. Was that a chem test? Elena and Noah getting to know each other? Is there a little hint there, maybe? I just thought it was interesting that we made the time to let Noah become introduced, I suppose, with Elena. I don't know if he's ever would have crossed paths with her. But also the larger thing with Elena. We've spent weeks now with Elena being overworked and very tired, and mostly what her character seems to do is tell Nate how much she's working and how tired she is. And I do wonder, is that building building toward something larger, or are we just doing some character establishment there with her? Establishing that she's a hard worker, she's working all these long hours, and it's just meant to be something to kind of identify with her, or are we headed towards something larger? I don't know, but I sure am glad you mentioned that, Gary. Well, Victoria says it was great to see the amazing Michael and Amanda on my screen today. Michael was so invigorated as he discussed his strategy to Amanda and Devon. Devon can be annoying when he spouts his wisdom. However, he is giving Amanda good advice. When it concerns family, it is good to think of all the consequences. Amanda's getting close to Naya and Amani. This should not stop her from testifying, but could put an end to their bonding. Yes, Victoria, you're right. See, here's another good instance. I skated right over that because I'm just so on the Amanda Sutton trial, and I can't get rid of the disappointment that it all kind of fizzled out and didn't really go anywhere, and had so many twists and turns on who could have killed her father, and then we never got the resolution, and I'm having a hard time I'm having a hard time putting that part to bed. But you're absolutely right. Devon was giving Amanda very good advice. If Amanda does testify against Sutton, it could completely blow up all of the mother-sisterly bonding that she's been trying to build. It shouldn't. Hopefully, it seemed like all three of them were on the same page in terms of wanting Sutton to be convicted, but you never know. I mean, testifying against him and actively trying to get him thrown in jail might be a bridge that Naya, for instance, is not too willing to cross. We'll just see. I think all of those scenes and all of this would have had so much more emotional impact had Naya and Amani actually been there. What is with Naya's heart condition? Have we been just told that Naya has the heart condition as an excuse to not be seeing her on screen? We're just supposed to assume that she's off getting her medical treatments and taking it easy? Is that why? Or again, is that building towards something bigger? I don't know. Everything with this family, Amanda, Amani, Naya, had so much promise, and it's just been way-sided now, and I'm happy to get back to it, but I just have this maybe skepticism that it's going to be anything too good, anything too substantial. I don't know. I've been burned. Oh, well, hey, how about this on the topic of Mariah? Keisha says, Lord have mercy. Nana Ashley was determined to keep Mariah away from baby Dominic. It was a sad thing to watch. The moment Mariah tried to reach for that baby, Ashley told her to make a sandwich or warm up a baby bottle. Oh, Devon can hold the baby, but the only thing Mariah is good for is milk. Ooh, Keisha. And Sherrod says, yes, I found that very interesting that Abby seemed to be doing everything in her power to make sure that Mariah never touched that blanket baby. Yet before that, she was telling Abby that she's not alone and that people love and would be happy to be there for her, including Tessa, Devon, and Mariah. But when the woman arrived at home, Ashley made sure that Mariah had no physical contact with Dominic. And Gary also says, I noticed Ashley subtly freezing Mariah out with fake kindness. This is great, you guys, because honestly, I thought I was imagining it. I noticed that too. I was definitely getting the cold from Ashley toward Mariah, and it did seem like there was almost an active attempt to block Mariah from touching the baby or coming anywhere near the baby. It did seem that in the back of her mind, Ashley had some concerns about Mariah and was actively trying to block her. But then I thought to myself, no, maybe that's just me, but you guys have just confirmed it for me. You guys were reading it that way too. That you think there was an active plot to stop Mariah from getting too close to the baby. Well, good luck, because Mariah is going to be all in on that baby from here on out. And in fact, She told that to Tessa this week. She's very concerned about Bowie. Keeps calling him Bowie, which is fine. It's fine to have a nickname for someone. But it is indicative of the fact that Mariah is not as well as she wants everyone to believe. She has not moved on past the separation issues that she's having, and now she certainly has a path to continue on with it all. Oh, Sherrod says, you know that I love me some Tessa, but I must brag on how much Kate Fairbanks has grown as an actor. I was rewatching Monday's episode, and I just noticed that single tear running down her cheek when Abby was giving Dominic the teddy bear. No over emotions. It was so subtle that I missed it the first 2 times I watched it, but just needed to point out her growth. Y&R's done such a good thing featuring Tessa. I mean, I feel like we say it week after week, but week after week it becomes more apparent. She's always on point. Even if she's not having an active role in the scene, Tessa is doing a great job of reacting to the scene and what's going on around her. And I was almost thinking, gosh, I wonder if she has spent some time taking some acting classes, or if she's gotten some private coaching or something, or if it's just the experience of being involved with Y&R overall that has accumulated, because it's been an explosion of Tessa, and she's just been so good recently. And I just think maybe Y&R has realized that. Maybe that's why they've cast Noah. They realized they wanted to do something a little more with Tessa, and she's certainly going to have her work cut out for her as things continue to evolve with Mariah and the baby and the relationship that they're trying to preserve. Let's talk about Abby and Chance. Jamie says, Victor is my all-time favorite. He got it just right with Abby. Supportive without feeding into her denial, all the while not being harsh or dismissive. Yes, it was a nice moment. It does seem like now that everyone is back from Italy, the Newmans and the Abbotts are circling the wagons around Abby, and there were some beautiful scenes with Victor and Abby this week. They were emotionally touching. They were physically beautiful. I especially loved the scenes in the park with all of the fall colors and just the hugs and the intimacy that, by the way, was missing from the show for so many months and maybe even the better part of a year. All of that's just washed into the background, and yes, we finally got the wonderful moments with Abby and her father this week, as well as Abby and her mother. Although Ashley was pretty busy keeping Mariah away from that baby. Well, Leslie says, if Chance is dead, since he never met his son and is not his biologically, it does not feel like he should be considered Dominic's father. I don't care what the birth certificate says. Yes, Leslie, I'm so glad that you mentioned this, because it is an interesting debate here. I mean, if Chance is dead, he's never met the baby, he never has any chance of meeting the baby, then, is he really the baby's father? I mean, Chance really only has one connection to Dominic, and that's Abby. So does that a father make? I don't know. I guess in the end, that's really up to Abby. We get to choose these things these days. Chance is the father because we decided so. And there are lots of fathers who never meet their sons, and that doesn't make them not a father. So I guess it really is just a matter of what the family wants. So it will be interesting to see if Abby continues to say that, and I think she will. I think that's her intention. Chance is this baby's father. It doesn't matter if the baby was just conceived, or if the baby is a couple of months old, or if the baby is 10 or 50 years old. This is how Abby feels, and she will. I'm gonna guess that she will continue to say that Chance is the father, although she may come up with a different name for what Devon's role in Dominic's life may be. We'll just see. It's interesting. I mean, even though the surrogacy storyline has been a sticky wicket, there's definitely been some interesting questions that have come out of it. Well, Y&R viewer 123 says, if some of you are glad about Chance's possible death, well, Amelia Heinley's Instagram post just spoiled it for me. She's deleted it already. Yeah, so I did hear about this little piece of juicy news. So apparently Amelia Heinle, I never say her name right, I'm sure. Amelia the Heinle. She posted a photo on Instagram, which apparently had some party stuff in the background and had Chance's name on it. And immediately the fans started spinning out theories like, oh, wait a minute, there's a twist right around the corner. Chance is not dead. Look it. There's going to be a welcome home party. So, yes, Amelia had to delete her Instagram post, and the fans are still spinning theories that Chance is not really dead, that in fact he's been recast. And I did see that too, that there is a specific actor that it's sort of rumored to potentially have been recast to be Chance. But I don't know. I can't put too terribly much stock in that, because as far as the Amelia photo, in my mind, I think, well, it's probably a celebration of life, not a welcome home party. And then as far as the other person being cast, I mean, we don't really know. We can't say for sure whether he would be Chance. He could, he could be a partner for Noah for all we know. Leslie says, they didn't have to wait this long just to kill Chance off. The show really has gone back off track again. Nothing exciting to watch for. I think it's proof that the reason the show got good was because of that writer that came in and already left. The elevation in story entirely coincided with her presence. Yeah, it is. It's the question just still does haunt me. Why? Why didn't we presume Chance dead 9 months ago? Sherrod says, I think contractually they did. The previous actor had just signed a contract and they were actually still paying him. This is Danny or Donnie, whichever one it ended up being. They could not say that he was dead or recast the character because of that contract agreement. It's been 8 months. They're not saying that he's truly dead. Nobody has been found yet, but at some point they can officially declare him dead and or recast. Yeah, Danny the Donnie had just signed a 3-year contract when he got fired from the show, and so there was a lot of time on that. And I think that's as good a guess as any. That the reason they said nothing, did nothing for as long as they did was because they were contractually obligated to do this or that. And maybe now that time is getting close to an expiration, and maybe they are going to choose to just immediately recast, and there will be some sort of happy ending and a welcome home party for Chance. So any and all of the above is possible. In other news of other characters who may or may not live, Superplex says, bad news, Ashland has a month to live. Yeah, November sweeps is right on the horizon, isn't it? Next week we're going to be in November. It is kind of interesting, isn't it? That all of the Ashland health issues are starting to ramp back up right at November sweeps. Daisy says, are we sure that Ashland hasn't been drugging Victoria? It's so odd that she defends him all the time. Yeah, there's something there. Clearly we can tell we're building towards something with Ashland. Is he gonna live? Is he gonna die? I mean, it's gotta be that either he is gonna die and we're gonna have to say a sad goodbye to Richard Berge, or we're gonna find out that he was betraying her all along, and there is some kind of twist there that he married her because he wanted part of Newman or something or other. We'll just have to wait and see, but certainly with November coming up, that's gotta come up soon. Well, let's talk about these 90% to 10% poll results that just shock me. 90% Adam over Billy. Leslie says, I came here to vote Billy. By the way, I voted Adam too, so I'm in the majority. I'm as guilty as everyone else. I voted for Adam, but I just didn't expect it to be such a slam dunk. Leslie says, I came here to vote Billy, though, because I could not possibly pick between two of my favorite characters and actors, but I knew Billy would need some votes, so that swung me. As I was clicking Billy, though, I thought, Adam has so much force behind him, and all Billy has is Lily, and I always have to go with the underdog. I'll vote Adam any other day of the week, though. So Leslie voted for Billy, but again, it's an underdog vote. So I always kind of think maybe that is what it is. Maybe that's the essence of it. When it comes to Victor and Billy, it's that Billy is always that driving force against Adam, and we as viewers just have this perpetual nature of wanting to root for the underdog. That's why I think that the Victor versus Billy poll is going to be an interesting one, because Victor Newman is no underdog. So does that change the dynamic? Does that make you like Billy more when he's stacked up against someone who's arguably less likable than he? Keisha says, I voted on Friday and went for Adam, but I have to admit that had I voted earlier in the week, I would have voted for Billy. It's just that Adam and Victor's plan is such evil genius that you can't help but root for them. But in general, I love Billy just as much. Either way, they're both phenomenal actors who are totally hot. Yeah, that's really getting into the heart of it, Keisha. They're both phenomenally hot. That's why it's so hard to choose. Michelle says, I pick Adam because of the Dark Knight legacy. Plus, I can't get that red jacket of Billy's out of my mind. What a fashion miss for such a handsome man. Ugh, that red jacket was awful, but you're right, he's a handsome man. TB84 says, I voted Adam. Why? Because I'm kind of tired of Billy looking to blame him or Victor constantly about anything, looking for an excuse to get revenge. His obsession is tiresome, but if that's where the show's going, I'm going to have to stick with it. Yeah, I think we have no choice but to stick with it. It does seem like that is the path. It is always going to be Billy, on a tirade, trying to get something on Adam. That's just what's gone on between them is just never going to end until one of them's dead. Samuel says, I definitely chose Adam. And it all goes back to the night of Delia's death. Boy, doesn't it? Boy, doesn't it, Samuel? Samuel goes on to say, Adam ran over her on accident. He didn't even see a body. Even if Adam hadn't buried the evidence, Billy would have been out for blood anyways. Adam doesn't hate Billy. Billy's the one who holds a grudge on Adam. He is also a complete moron. He publishes a Chance Come article describing Adam as a monster, yet never likes to address his own flaws. Yeah, and Ellen makes an interesting point here that there really isn't a feud between Billy and Adam. Billy and Chloe have had a vendetta against Adam because they're too weak and immature to admit that it was Billy's negligence that got Delia killed. It's just been easier to scapegoat Adam for what happened. A decade and many survived murder attempts later, Adam has evolved. Chloe, and especially Billy, not so much. Yeah, it is always easy to find an external source to be mad at rather than to look inside. Yeah, that's a very good point. And Marianne V says, I totally agree. Billy was also responsible for Delia's death by leaving her alone in the car at that age. Adam hit her, but it was an accident. Adam tried to make up for this a long time now. Billy and Chloe will never forgive Adam, but they should learn to live with it. Adam is changing his life. Billy isn't. That's true, Marianne V. It does feel like Adam's changing his life and Billy isn't. Well, I'm glad that Billy has the business. I'm glad that that's something that has anchored him. I'm glad that Lily is something that anchored him. But Gary has a very insightful comment here saying, Billy thinks Adam is a fake in his redemption because he was a fake in his. Unable to imagine Adam's success as he himself can never rise above his old ways. Juicy fruit, Billy! With Billy's redemption, he wanted to talk to everyone in town about how he had changed. But with Adam, he wisely went about the business of reforming himself without a word to anyone unless forced into a confrontation about himself by a doubting townsperson, of which there are many. Gosh, dang, Gary, that's some dollar store psychoanalysis right there. Billy thinks Adam is a fake in his redemption because he was a fake in his. Oh, gosh. That rings true. Not gonna lie, that rings true. I think we need something new for Billy. I really, really do. And I thought Lily was it. And she's great. I love Billy and Lily. I think maybe we need more of that. Or maybe we just need to see some humility from Billy. Maybe just a little something extra. We need to oomph up the Billy love. I want that. I do want that. I want to love Billy. I find that maybe he's a character that's been hard for me to love. I think just because it's a personality type that I just don't gel with. the lovable screw up to me is not a lovable personality type. It's very difficult for me to go, well, that's just so-and-so. I don't have that in me. So I think maybe it is just a personal preference. But hey, Herman has a good idea here, saying, watching Sally and Billy together had me seeing hearts and flowers on top of fireworks. Yes, these two are perfect. Reminded me of favorite sparring couples in old movies. Yeah, Sally and Billy could definitely be hot, even if not right now, then in the future. It would be maybe interesting to see a Billy, Sally, Adam triangle. I like that idea too. Hey, I asked last week to talk a little bit to some Chatham fans and asking how the Chatham fans feel about Adam and Sally. Zuperplex says, I am a Chatham fan and I can put up with Adam having a part-time dalliance with Sally, so long as the end game is Sharon. I think Adam and Sally look good together, and I'm in favor of her winning over one of the most desirable men in town, but she deserves it for all she's had to put up with. And Keisha says this Chatham fan is on board with Adam and Sally. Adam needs someone new. He's been going back and forth from Sharon to Chelsea for over a decade. Nick did the same thing with Phyllis and Sharon, but at least he had Avery, Sage, and even Chelsea to keep him occupied. It's Adam's turn now. Yeah, that's true. He really only has had Sharon and Chelsea for over a decade. Maybe that's why the fans have had a really good response to Adam and Sally, because it does feel kind of refreshing. Oh, and a little bit of a follow-up from Keisha last week. I'll give it to you in a minute, but I want to get to this comment about Chelsea. Keisha says, I also agree that Lauren will hire Chelsea, but let's not forget that Chelsea wasn't a valuable employee for Fenmore. She siphoned funds from Fenmore's department stores through a bogus website, skipped town, and I guess literally Lauren is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Yes, I meant to mention this last week too. It's hilarious that Lauren is going to end up seeing Chelsea as her saving grace when we all know that Chelsea was siphoning money away from Fenmore's. It would be ridiculous for Lauren to hire somebody who had been stealing from her, but you know it is going to happen. But anyway, more importantly, so Keisha last week said that she thought that when she looked at Noah seeing Tessa again for the first time, I guess in Tuscany, it reminded her of the first time that Nick saw Sharon, and I was just so taken with that idea that Keisha would remember something so specific from so long ago. And I asked, do you really remember the first time Nick saw Sharon? And Keisha says, lady, I remember when Nick met Sharon, the pool party in the early 90s, and Sharon was wearing a blue bikini and Nick was wearing a drooling smile. It was so cute. You know, I wonder now, Keisha, that you're saying it was a pool party. What did we see that in the flashback episodes and all the classic episodes? And was she coming to the party with Matt Clark, or was Matt Clark, they were kind of together and then they came to the party and maybe Nick was with Amy or something and he saw her for the first time in her blue bikini? Oh yeah, it's almost kind of coming back to me. That sounds really sweet. I'm for a Nick and Sharon reunion if I must bust up the Phyllis and Nick hotness. Which, honestly, at the time when Nick and Sharon were together and Phyllis and Nick hooked up, it was just hot. It was pure hot. It was a very difficult decision to choose between, like, the deep love story, like teen romance, like young love and everything that Nick and Sharon had, and then busting it up for that hot affair with Nick and Phyllis. It was so unexpected. It was so naughty, and that was a real pull. It was a tough decision, and ultimately, I think I did prefer Nick and Sharon. I'm a loyalist, but I've really come to love Nick and Phyllis, and I'm going to be sad if they break up, but hey, if that means Nick gets back together with Sharon, all right, I'll consider it. Well, either way, Sharon and Ray right back to arguing about Adam. Victoria says, Ray, give it a break. Your conversation with Sharon could have gone so differently. Sharon would have loved to hear about your conversation with Noah and your thoughts on him remaining in Genoa City. Instead, you focused on Sharon staying out of Billy's business, and this left a bitter taste in her mouth. Bad move, Ray. No kidding. That would have been a better move to talk about what had happened with Ray. What had happened with Noah. Great point. Ellen says, gee, Ray, did you tell Sharon not to get involved? Was it in order? Newsflash, she's a fully functioning adult and you don't control what she does. She's lived in this town her whole life. She runs the local coffee shop. She knows all the players. She's often a sympathetic ear. Your wife is not going to be sidelined because you're jealous and controlling. Ooh. And Gary says Sharon needs to stop pussyfooting around and tell Ray straight up. I have a love for Adam and I care about him. I care about a lot of people in this town. Yeah, gee, that would be reasonable. Just a straight up honesty. How refreshing that would be. And I'm sure well received, too. You know, a lot of people have comments about Phyllis and Nick. This is a very talked about storyline. So I'll start with Sandra, who says, I would rather have seen Nick slip up in some way and he and Phyllis break up because of it, rather than to listen Phyllis badger Nick with talk about his family and for that to be the reason that they part ways. Phyllis has an entire hotel to deal with. This nonsensical Newman drama should roll off of her like water on a duck. It's annoying. But don't mind me. I find everything about Phyllis grating. Naomi says, I agree Phyllis is pestering Nick, but my take is that she's noticing Nick being less tolerant of her. She's sensing the beginning of the end and knows there's nothing she can do to stop it. She's not any different, but suddenly Nick is short with her. Nick has changed for some reason. Maybe since the night he helped Sharon close up Crimson Lights, he's longing for the past with her. Phyllis can be annoying, but I've been enjoying her scenes. At Crimson Lights, she's talking to Jack. She picks up the very interesting Halloween mug and gives it a quick look. Michelle Stafford is always so present and so aware, and everyone had to have their little reaction to the kooky Halloween cups for the week. Especially Jack. Jack also looked at his like, what the heck is this thing? I'm Jack Abbott. I'm drinking out of a skull cup? What is this? You could tell he was uncomfortable with it, but had to go with it. But yes, oh my goodness, Naomi, wow. Phyllis is picking up on Nick's change in response to her. You might darn well be right. That might be the whole essence of it right there. Maybe it's just that Nick is the one who realized that he wants something deeper. I mean, all eyes are on Phyllis because Jack's in the picture, but maybe you're right. It was that night at the coffee house with Sharon that made Nick realize that he wants something deeper. And now Phyllis's reaction to everything is all about her realizing that Nick has changed and that he feels differently about her and that there's nothing she can do to stop it. And so she's kind of putting up a wall around herself to protect herself from the relationship falling apart, because Phyllis has always been intimidated by Sharon. Phyllis got Nick. I mean, Phyllis ended Sharon and Nick's marriage successfully. She got him. She got the guy. But she had a hard time holding on to him, and she was very paranoid about him going back to Sharon for years and years and years. So that's always going to be a real sore spot for Phyllis, and maybe it's for a reason. Ellen says, why did Phyllis say she understands that Christian being sick comes first, and then still get angry, and then never ask how Christian was feeling? Why did Phyllis pretend that she went to all kinds of bother to arrange a romantic evening when all she did was call her staff and tell them what to deliver to her room? And why did Phyllis jump down Jack's throat rather than taking a minute to consider any of the insightful questions that he was asking her? And why am I not surprised by any of this? I know, I definitely find myself siding with Nick, or at least being irritated with Phyllis in all of this, because it just almost does kind of feel like she's being a little unreasonable and selfish. But I don't know. Tina Cole says, Phyllis seemed upset at Nick for having food brought up to their room as an apology when she came in, but that's exactly what Phyllis planned the evening before when Nick said he was staying with Christian. She ordered a bunch of room service too. Then she got upset for Nick talking to someone about their conflicts, but she is more than okay talking to Jack about her issues with Nick. Nick could have said he talked to Sharon, and as much as Jack is Phyllis's friend, even though they used to be married, why can't Sharon be Nick's friend? That's totally true. Superplex says, seriously, Phyllis, you get so upset because Nick might be discussing his relationship problems with others, but you're allowed uninhibited, unrestricted, and ad nauseum conversations with Jack about the same subject? Double standard, perhaps? No kidding. I didn't even think about that. That is so true. She was so offended at the idea that Nick might have been talking to Sharon. And when Sharon didn't even say, I don't know, something about video games and sex, I thought that came from Nick, not from Sharon. So, I don't know. Phyllis definitely double standard. No doubt about it. Diana says, I have some very simple advice for Phyllis. All she needs to do is just listen. Nick doesn't need to hear her opinion on his family. He didn't ask for it. All Nick wants and needs is at the moment is a partner who will listen to him vent without placing judgment. Phyllis is being too judgmental, and that's what the problem is. Nick already knows what Phyllis is telling him about his family. He doesn't need her to tell him. He just needs Phyllis to be supportive and a good listener. And her negative comments are poisoning the relationship. I had a friend who would vent to me about her boyfriend, and I never said anything negative. I just listened and told her that I understood how she was feeling, and I told her I know it's hard when you love someone but you don't agree with things that they're doing. She always said she loved opening up to me and not other people because she appreciated that I didn't judge her or tell her how to live her life. Phyllis needs to do the same. Just be there for Nick without all of the negative commentary toward his family. That's very incredibly wise, Diana, and I agree, and I kind of do the same thing, especially if you've got a girlfriend who's wanting to talk smack about her boyfriend. You better just know she's not there because she wants you to jump on him. She's there because she just needs to vent, and it is really, it's kind of a skill, a listening skill and a friendship skill that you obviously have, Diana, where it's like, you just got to be able to identify when someone wants advice versus when someone just wants to vent, and I think that you really hit the nail on the head there in terms of Phyllis and Nick's problems. I mean, the problems with the Newman family weren't a problem for them up until about 2 weeks ago, so there was no need to make it a problem. All Phyllis had to do was sit back and listen to her man and let him vent. And Nick said that too. He said, he kind of pretty much said the same thing. I'm going through something. I just want somebody to talk to. But Sherrod says this was a conflict in the making from the start of them getting back together. If your significant other cannot stand your family, how is that relationship going to work? If you so need your family like Nick does. Nick knows all about what Victor put Phyllis through and knows how Phyllis really feels about him. So why get involved with each other? It was clearly all about sex and fun and games and nothing substantial. You're right, Sherrod, that it was probably always going to end up being a problem. But, it's only a problem because the writers just decided out of the blue that it was a problem. It was never a problem before, and they never talk about the Marco thing, ever. She never brings that up. I mean, as far as, all the things that Phyllis could have brought up in that argument, she brought up Tara and Sally. That's so nothing. Why didn't she bring up Victor? Why didn't she say that? She could have said, do you know what your father did to me? Do you know how hard it is for me to sit here and listen to this? I mean, that would have been a totally more legit counter argument, but instead Phyllis just kind of came off as petty to me. Daisy says, I think Nick is definitely pushing Phyllis away. He seems to find fault in everything she says. I guess this is where the relationship ends yet again, and then Jack and Phyllis will reunite. A winter wedding would be beautiful! And Phyllis would ensure that it would be better than Victoria's was. Of course, Phyllis would invite Nick just so he could see what he's lost one last time, and Sally can be the flower girl. A winter wedding for Phyllis and Jack with Sally as the flower girl. Oh, I love that. Well, speaking of flowers, Victoria says Chancellor Park looked so festive with gourds and the pumpkins and the wall of fall leaves brought a crispness to the air. Also, there were those gorgeous yellow mums and the large planters. I can't wait to see what costumes the residents of Genoa City will choose for Halloween. Oh, I love the Chancellor Park. They also had that pole. It was almost like a guide post or a hiking post or something. It was like a large pole, and then it had different arrows on it pointing to the different fall activities. You know, this way to the pumpkin patch, this way to the corn maze. And it was just kind of a nice little touch, and that is very Midwesterny in that way. And yes, I love those big, gorgeous yellow mums. I have two big, gorgeous yellow mums right in front of my house, and I just think they're gorgeous. And of course, I've got my pumpkins and my gourds, and oh my goodness, it's Halloween. I'm gonna have to get rid of all that stuff. Well, not the mums. The mums can stay a while, but my pumpkins are about rotten anyway. It's Halloween! Tina Cole says, wait a minute, did we not get a Halloween episode? I love the decorations at the coffee house, but I would love to see some costumes. It occurred to me last week too, Tina Cole, that I wonder if they were never going to do costumes, because are they allowed to have hair and makeup yet? Is that still reduced? I mean, if they were going to do Halloween costumes, presumably there would be a lot of flurry with makeup and hair and all of the costumery, and I wonder if COVID is still a concern with that. I mean, are they allowed to have makeup and hair service yet? I don't know. Most everything else seems to have returned to at least the appearance of normal, but I don't know. Maybe there's some extra costs associated with that, but yeah, I don't think we're gonna get any Halloween costumes. So in lieu of that, Diana made a list of some Halloween costumes that she thought the characters could wear. She says, I haven't forgotten the cheesy costume we saw Nick in a few years ago, and I don't think we're getting a Halloween episode, which is disappointing, but it might be for safety reasons. So here's some Halloween costumes that we can imagine in our minds, courtesy of Diana. Diana put number one. We saw Nick in a cheesy costume. Was it a pirate or something a couple years ago? So not right up number one. Diana makes Nick Fonzie. The Fonz. Can you see Nick as the Fonz? I can definitely see it. And I think Josh Morrow would have a ton of fun with that. Number two, Phyllis can be Pinky Tuscadero, Fonzie's girlfriend. Ooh, I'm loving that. Oh, and I like this. Ray could be Elvis Presley, and Sharon could be Priscilla. Oh my goodness, I can really see Ray as Elvis. You know he'd get into that. Would Priscilla, would people get, though, Priscilla? Would people see that? I don't know. I'm not sure how, we're probably showing our age with these pics, but I wonder if people would immediately identify Priscilla. I sure would. I certainly I love Elvis and Priscilla, yes. But I think that's a really good pick, because I'm just imagining Ray as Elvis right now and enjoying it. Diana says Nate can be a hot football player. Diana, I really appreciate that you didn't just say Nate could be a football player. You said Nate could be a hot football player. That really helps hit the point home. I mean, honestly, when it comes to Nate, you probably don't even have to say it. It's sort of implied that he would be a hot whatever. He would be a hot garbage man. You name it, he would be hot at it, but I love that he's the hot football player. And Elena could be a cheerleader. That'd be cute. Nate and Elena, football player and cheerleader. Sally could be a flight attendant. Why does that work so well? Why can I completely see Sally as a flight attendant right now, and Adam could be the pilot? That's awesome. That totally works. Oh, and you put Billy could be Jughead with Lily as Veronica. Ooh, those are really cute. Oh, and Diana says the party could be on Jabot. That would be fun. Yeah. So she says these are just some ideas for characters, and go ahead and add any other ideas that you have in mind. Oh, Diana, that's a good idea. Does anybody else have any costume ideas that they'd like to see the characters be just in their mind? Like go ahead and pick some cool costumes for some of the characters and list them out this week. And I'll end on this one from Ellen, because I think it really hits it home. She really had, this is just a good zinger, and I'm going to leave you with this. Ellen says, Gaines has a weird costume this year. Chimney sweep? That's so good. That's so good. Oh man, I'm gonna spend the rest of the day thinking about Halloween costumes for the Young and the Restless cast. Oh my goodness. Well, as you know, I got a 4-year-old, so I got some real costume to put together. Oh, Halloween is so fun. I took her to a little trick-or-treat parade already this week, and of course she's getting rave reviews on cuteness. Oh boy. Hey, one other thing I just wanted to quickly mention. So I've been teaching my daughter to read, and so we've been going to the library quite a lot. And you know, she knows all of the basic phonics and things, and so I'm just trying to get to the place where I can get her to put it all together. And I thought to myself, well, I think the best way I can really teach my daughter to read is to make a habit of it. And so we've just been really voraciously reading. I've been reading tons of kids' books to her, and while I was at the library, I said to myself, well, I think, you know, maybe it would be good if she saw Mommy doing a lot of reading. And I'm not a big reader. I spent several weeks kind of at the library thinking, well, I don't know what I could read. You know, there's a million topics of interest, but with podcasts providing so much easy information, it was hard to commit to anything. And I really always have leaned more toward nonfiction. But I used to work in a bookstore, back in around 2000, 2001, and there was a certain type of book that always sort of appealed to me, but I never quite took the leap. Harlequins. Romance novels. I never was into fiction, but for some reason those Harlequins really, really compelled me. I would just pull them off the shelf, and I would look at the salacious covers, and I would read the crazy titles, and I would read the summaries of the books, and they were always so cheesy and just steamy and stupid, and something about them just really always appealed to me in a campy kind of way. And I don't think I ever really connected it to the fact that I'm a long-time soap opera viewer. And if you think about it, I mean, really, the soap opera is just kind of a televised romance novel. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Lee Philip Bell had been a romance novel reader, and maybe, you know, Bill saw her reading a romance novel one day, picked it up and said, you know what, we can do better, and then boom, Young and the Restless. I mean, it's such a very close connection that I absolutely never made before, but I made it this week, and I picked up my very first Harlequin. Here it is. I'll show you guys. It's an older book. It's just something that the library had, but it's called Sold to the Enemy. It is so ridiculous. I'm going to read you this back cover. Stefan Ziakas might be her father's most hated business rival, but he's the only man who has ever made Selena and Taxos feel beautiful. So, needing to make a new life for herself, Celine apprehensively turns to Stefan for help. Except the dark-hearted tycoon is nothing like the white knight she remembers. Seduced, bedded, and betrayed in a matter of days, Celine realizes it's not always better, the devil you know. She's sold her soul and her heart to the enemy. Don't that just sound like a soap opera plot right there? And let me tell you, it is. I'm about 3/4 of the way through this sucker. I've been burning through it. It's like watching a condensed soap storyline. It's like, you know, you don't have the fluff. You don't have the, so-and-so got recast, or, they changed the storyline direction right in the middle. It's just a condensed storyline chunk right at your fingertips. You can read it in 5-minute pieces, 10-minute pieces, an hour if you're really into it. And boy, it is captivating. I've never even read a romance novel in my life, but here I am, a Harlequin. Oh my goodness. So good. And it just dawned on me the whole reason that this appealed to me. And again, for years I thought, boy, you know, if I was going to read a book, I probably would read a Harlequin. Never dawned on me the close connection to soap operas that it really has. And who knows, maybe I'll keep continuing on with it. It's just absolutely captivating. In more ways than one. So have you guys ever read a Harlequin? Are you into romance novels? I just think it's such an interesting genre. And if you guys want to comment on that at all this week, please feel free. Or, of course, comment on the show. YRChat.com is where you can go. Leave a comment. If you've never commented before, why not make this your week to leave your very first comment? There's so much to be said and so much to be read at YRChat.com. And I will be back next Sunday. Halloween will be over and we'll officially be into our November Sweeps week. I'm very much looking forward to that. Let's ramp up the drama. The drama is always on. Okay, everybody, I love you. I hope you have a wonderful Halloween. If you guys also have any costumes of your own or your kids' costumes or whatever, leave some comments and let me know that, and we'll come back and chat about them next Sunday. I love you guys. Bye.